Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble Cross Heart and Hand podcast. How are we? How are we all doing? I hope you're all well. On this Wednesday evening, I am, of course, joined by David Edgar. David, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I haven't been very well this week, as listeners on Heart and Hand might know. Just because I don't have kids, I don't have any germ immunity that normal people, that parents get. So see if there's anything going about, and because I'm never out either. On the rare occasion I do venture out, I seem to pick up a bug. So every year I get COVID. There's no point me having injections because I'll just get COVID at the start of winter and that'll be me done. So got it the way early this year, which is nice. But yeah, things seem to be happening. But right, it was my wife's birthday yesterday. So cleverly, thank you. Cleverly, I had stashed all her presents in the garage, right? So I went out to get them, and while I was having a route about, I found a bag of old Rangers videos. Videos, I tell you. Who remembers this
Rangers
bad
Gold.
boy?
Oh, Rangers Gold! Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it.
I don't. I'll just randomly go into the... Hey!
Rangers Gold too. Oh, I used to have them as well.
Oh, I mean, see, that's the big. I'm a hoarder. I never throw anything away. So yeah, I've got a bag. There must be about 30 videos in there.
Yeah, but have you got a VHS
video player? No. But I looked on eBay and you can get them, and I'm going to go for the full experience. International Fortnight's coming up, so I'm going to get them and I'm going to relive my. Judging those videos for the first one's 86, 87, that championship season. So there's videos for about then to, I would say, the late 90s. And then I think I might have moved into the DVD era round about then. But yeah, I'm going to have a nostalgia overload through the international.
Well, here's a question. Do tellies now, because I haven't actually looked for this, do they still have SCAR?
Oh, that's a good... I'm sure you'll be able to buy like a converter cable that you can get.
You must.
Stuff. Yeah, there must. There'll be something available on Amazon. So yeah, but that is a good point. But you can pick up video players on eBay for buttons. So I'm going to have a wee nostalgia weekend or week, 2 weeks when there's no proper football to watch. So yeah, looking forward to that. But they don't. Yeah, kids, back in the day, we bought physical media.
Honestly, yes. Do you know, when I was born in 1989. So,
sorry.
I know.
Oh.
But that's what made me a Rangers fan, the videos, because nobody in my family was really that into football. So, a friend of my grand...
What did they talk about at parties?
I don't know. I was too young. I never listened anyway. A friend of my grand's, because I can't say my grand's boyfriend because that didn't sound right. So a friend of my grand's was a Rangers fan.
Who was a boy? Yeah.
Who was a boy? Well, a man, because that would be really creepy if he was a boy. And he had about 9 or 10 of those VHSs, and I would just get sat in front of the telly with a video player and watch them all. And that is how I became a Rangers supporter. So that's how close the videos are to my heart.
You can't beat it. And then, like I said, there was just a simple bit of joy because they're all available on YouTube. I know that, right? Before anybody says, I know, and I've watched them. It's not the same. There was just a particular joy. But this is why, because I never throw anything away, right? My wife's the same. We're total hoarders. My garage is like a bric-a-brac shop. There's all types of stuff in there, like Apple Macs from 1984 and things. Believe it or not, another thing I found, we'll get to Rangers in a minute, I promise, listeners. But
none of that matters. Carry on.
I found a Geiger counter. And I came in and I said, Sally, why is there a Geiger counter? She went, do you know, I think it's cool. And I was like, well, yeah. She used to be an antiques dealer, I should probably point out, before she retired. So she's like, look, it's a proper 1950s Geiger counter, and it still works. I went, what, for when we need to check if there's radiation? That does not come up often in normal everyday life, but
well, if you ever holiday to Chernobyl, you're sorted.
Exactly, we'll take our own with us, But
is it Geiger or is it Geiger?
I think it's Geiger, but our listeners, I'm sure, will tell us if I'm bugging up. And I've just realised as well, if you're listening in the audio pod, you might not have a clue what we're talking about, but I just showed Rangers Gold and Rangers Gold 2 to Martin, right? Video. I just realised that some people don't watch the podcast, so they were like, see, I'm so used to just doing audio, but that's another thing. By the way, I've noticed this. I always go for a shower before I come on, right? I don't know why. I want to be clean for the listeners, but it makes my face all shiny. Look how shiny I am. You look great. You're properly lit, whereas I'm just, But
yeah, I've got ring lights and backlights and side lights.
I don't. And if people are coming here for my looks, and quite frankly, they deserve all they get.
Nobody's coming here for anybody's looks. Have you seen everybody else that's on the Rabble? It's just not a pretty sight.
You said that. I'm glad you said that.
It's just not. Do you know, on one of the VHSs, right? And listen, I don't care about Rangers right now. I've been shown old VHSs. I'm in my element here. The 9 in a row one, I think it is. And do you know who the narrator is?
Oh, is it Richard Gordon?
It's Richard Gordon, yes.
Yeah, Richard Gordon. It's funny. They would take the money when it was offered to them.
They would take the money back then,
but the best one's Archie McPherson. That's the voice of Scottish football. But you can't
see, back then, Scott Sport used to be great back then.
Yeah, Sports and Scott Sport were terrific programmes. But it's really the last 10, 15 years, like a lot of sports broadcasting. I mean, let's be honest, if sports broadcasting was of a certain level, you and I we'd be sitting here tonight talking to each other, on a Zoom call, not needing to set it up for other people to watch it. So in a way, I suppose it gives us an in. I mean, did you see that interview the other day, the guy from Sky, Gary Cottrell, with Ruben Amorim?
No.
When he was, you need to, it's on social media, folks, you'll be able to find it. He was badgering the Sporting Lisbon coach. He's like, why won't you answer in English? Why won't you answer in English? And he was saying, because room full of Portuguese journalists for a game that involves a Portuguese team. And you just thought, oh man. Yeah.
Did that not happen years ago with Klopp in Germany as well?
Yeah, it happens quite frequently.
I'll speak German because I'm in Germany, learn German. Basically,
which is what I wish Ruben Amorim would say, well, you ask a question in Portuguese and I'll answer it in English. But yeah, that sometimes does happen in these press conferences. But that gives us the excuse to sit and chat to the listeners about all things Rangers.
It does. And when you've brought it up now, so I need to talk about it. Do you think, in all the years now that you've been doing this, which is, for the people listening and watching, quite a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just a baby compared to David, in both age and time doing podcasts.
Very much true on both counts.
Do you think that the mainstream, if you like, is any better, worse, or is indifferent to when you first started? Because me and you have had many conversations in the past, whether it's on podcasts or off podcasts, about the state of mainstream media. Do you think it's changing, getting any better, getting worse, or still the same?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think media in general is changing. A really fantastic pace of changing. Things like this, the technology that enables us to do this. I mean, we are broadcasting, right, from our own houses, and people can, on a little bit of plastic they carry about with them, can sit and watch it anywhere in the world, right? So, we're enabled to do things that before were just the preserve of TV and radio and whatnot. And they have found that, the traditional media have found it very, very difficult to deal with that. Then you throw in the rise of social media, clips, things, etc. So they have kind of struggled, I think, to find a place. And you can see sometimes when they attempt to do it, like Sky Sports are moving in a direction that, certainly I don't think aimed at someone like me, that it's aimed at, I think kids and, a lot of YouTubers and Instagrammers and stuff. And that's, their decision. If they wanted to go in that way, that's totally cool. But I think that one of the reasons I started doing this in the first place was it wasn't catering to what me and my pals talked about, right? Over and above, I think I personally felt there was a huge anti-Rangers rhetoric in the Scottish mainstream media. And I feel that every club feels that, but I'm still pretty convinced when it came to our club that it's true. But I tried for years when I was at Rangers Supporters Trust. We used to meet with the media, and we had this sort of naive belief that it was almost like, you know, in the French Revolution, if we can just get to the king, he'll sort all the problems, you know. And we just thought, if we can just get to the media and say to them, look, we feel you're being unfair, they would go, oh, sorry, we didn't realise it. And then once we'd met with them a few times and we had, you know, interactions with them, we realised they do know, they don't care, right? So after a while, you can moan about it, or you can get up off your arse and do something about it. And that is what fan media is. And that's why I think I do get maybe a wee bit defensive when people criticise. I don't mind people criticising me in terms of, I watched your show and it's shite, right? I don't mind that, because that's a personal opinion. I mean, it's, you know, I think you can express it in a slightly less rude fashion, but that is entirely your decision, right? That's fine. If you say, David, I've watched your show and I don't like it, I have no problem with that. What I don't like is people saying fan media just shouldn't be involved. It shouldn't be a thing. And I'm sort of like, well, why not? And generally the reasons are, I'll say to the people that say that, it's like, do you like what the mainstream are doing? No. And I'm like, well, what we're trying to do is offer an alternative. And if you don't like that alternative, that's fine. But plenty of other people do. So what I would suggest to you is leave those people alone to enjoy it, and you go off and do the thing that we're not providing and that the mainstream media aren't providing for you. So for me, it was always kind of tied in to that, to try and just do something that was different. Because when I went to the game, right, and when I was talking to my pals after it in the pub, or we were talking on, you know, message boards back then, email rings, that was, I think, 20, 25 years ago. The stuff we were talking about was not the stuff that was in the papers. Fans don't talk about a touchline clash between two managers, an explosive press conference. We don't give a toss about that stuff. Fans talk about who's our left back. He's not playing very well. We need to move him up, you know, and your wide range, and you have conversations about loads of other stuff as well to do with the club. And I just thought, well, screw it, I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk about what I talk about with my pals, what I talk about when I'm on a supporters bus, the experience, what we talk about when we're at the game, the experience of the match going fan, rather than this artificial constructed bullshit about everything other than the actual game of football. That gets on my tits. There are a lot of people, I think, work in sports media, not just in Scotland, but quite a lot of them in Scotland, that don't love the actual game of football.
Yes.
And they're interested in all the soap opera that surrounds it. And I just think that misses so many points. Now, that is not to say, by the way, if you're into the soap opera vibe of it, then that's cool, that's for you. But there is something that caters to you. Whereas if you're into, like we are, football. And the other thing as well is, just be honest, we have an agenda. You have an agenda. We are Rangers supporters and we want Rangers to do well. I think we're fair in our analysis, but we admit we come at it with blue-tinted specs on. And that way people know what they're getting up front. And I think if you do that, rather than this, you know, bullshit that Rangers get fair coverage from, you know, certain media outlets that we all know is pish, I think it's better just to be upfront and honest. So we say, look, we will cover a Rangers game from the perspective of a Rangers supporter. It doesn't stop us saying, for example, at the weekend, you know, Andy Halliday, that's a brilliant goal, because if you look at, you know, the effort he's made, the timing of the run, the finish, we can say that. But what we'll also do primarily is say, Tavernier didn't stop the cross, Butland could have came for it, Jeffrey's made an error, he's not watching over you. So we will look at it, first of all, from that Rangers point of view. But it doesn't mean we can't acknowledge when somebody, with the exception of certain teams, when every goal that's ever scored against us is in fact a fluke.
Do you think there's a responsibility on fan media? In fact, I'll ask you two questions. How much longer do you think it will be called fan media? Right? What I would say more what you and Stevie do, right? I would class that more as fan media, simply because obviously you cover games in a press capacity. You ask the manager questions. You have the ability to maybe ask the club stuff that normal fans don't, and I don't, and stuff like that. So I would class that more as fan media. And what I sort of do is like podcast / media from an outside perspective, right? That's just my take on it. And how long do you think that gets classed as fan media, what you do, and eventually just gets classed as media?
Yeah, I don't really like the term fan media because I think it's deliberately given to try and create the idea that it's somehow amateurish, which it isn't.
Exactly. Yep.
And I think that it's it was a term given to this by the people that we are trying to disrupt, i.e. the traditional media. So you take the terms fan, sounds amateurish, traditional media, so that was a deliberate thing.
Doesn't know as much as what a reporter knows. He's just a bog standard fan.
Correct, yeah. I think that what you might find as it evolves, because it's happening all over the country, it's happening at every club now. I think that the mainstream media is changing because of what fan media does. You see now at games, I'll see reporters, guys that have been reporters for national newspapers for years, and they're fiddling about with a camera, trying to do a vlog. Because why do that? It's because we're doing it, and they see the numbers we're getting, and they go, "Oh, we should be doing that." And you see things like the Rangers Review, which is a national newspaper, and they do other ones as well. They do a Celtic one, a Kilmarnock one, a Hearts, I think a Hibs one as well. I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't follow those ones, so I don't know. But I think that what you might find is it'll evolve. It'll be called club-specific media.
Yeah,
because that's what it is. It's centered around one club, but if you look at I will put up what we do against anything that is produced at the MSN. They will have higher production values because they have higher budgets than we do. They will have studios, etc. But in terms of quality of output, I will happily put mine up against, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but the level of some of the guys that are on Heart and Hand, are on the Rabble, the knowledge that they have is far more than certain other people. But I would also say that for certain other brands of it, they are not looking for that. They're not, hiring people for their football insight, particularly, or for the lived experience of being a fan. Some of them it's for, they're controversial. Other ones of them it's because they are, they say things that can be clipped up and, put it on TikTok and get lots of hits and stuff. So different companies are after different things, and I don't really criticise that particularly. For instance, when Rangers fans complain to me about Radio Clyde, for example, and they'll say, "Oh, it's pro Celtic," and I'm like, "It's up to them. They're they're a commercial organisation. You are not charged for it. You're under no obligation to listen to it. Where it's slightly different, and we do deserve neutrality as the BBC, and that's why BBC Scotland, I think, is such an irritant, because you're forced to pay for that. So they do, in return for that, in return for the licence fee. But you can't complain about your choice with a newspaper or a radio station, or is to not use it because they've made their choice. So if they are, you feel, anti your club, then just So I used to say to people, they'd go, Radio Clyde, you should have heard this, and I'm like, why do you listen to it if you don't like it? And they were like, well, and they don't need to be neutral. They're under no obligation to be neutral. So they can, be all singing, all dancing.
That's the biggest thing for me, is that I've not listened to Radio Clyde for 8 years, 9 years, something like that. It's been a long, long, long time.
1996 for me, so there you go.
1990. Yeah. Well,
you were 7.
I was 7.
I stopped listening to it then. You hadn't started. Yeah. That makes me feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say I was still in nappies, but that would be quite wrong at 7, wouldn't it?
That
would be wrong. So
I
wasn't.
Good. I would really hope not.
No, I wasn't. I was. So just what bugs me, I suppose, more so about traditional media, and look, I'm not going to try and get clicks or whatever, because I'm not interested in that, is that, like you say, I don't listen to them because it is clickbaity nonsense, and they're more interested in, if we can get 1.5 million listeners next week, what can we do to make it 2 million? Not what is correct, not what is happening.
Yeah,
what's the political situation in Scotland? Can we use that to our advantage?
And it's the same when people complain about Fox News or CNN or GB News or Sky News or whatever. They're under no obligation, right? They can have the people complain about the Daily Mail, so it's right wing. That's fair enough. They're allowed to be. People complain about the Guardian or the left wing. They're allowed to be, right? Your choice is as a consumer not to engage with it. The difference again is the BBC. That's the one where no, hold on a minute here. You do now as a broadcaster. I think you would want to put it if you're Sky or whatever. I think you bear in mind that if you have the football, which is the thing that we all come for, then I think you should offer a product that's balanced. Personally, I don't really enjoy you get two pundits and one of them will say one thing and one of them will say another. And I don't enjoy that, but lots of people do. So I'm not criticising it. What I tend to do with football and Sky is if it's pundits I enjoy, I'll watch it, and if it's pundits I don't, I'll stick music onto the game comes on, and that's how I get around it. But yeah, people, I think sometimes, when they complain about a bias or whatever, then with the exception of the Beeb, I think that's
anything publicly owned. Anything
publicly owned, yeah, definitely. But from my point of view, I think we just like to be upfront at the start. We're Rangers fans. We're coming at us from the Rangers' point of view. We're covering the Olympiacos game tomorrow. We want Rangers to win that football match, right? And that's people know when they join up, and that's why over the years I've had Celtic fans complaining. I've seen them complain about you don't answer my tweets. No, I don't, because why do I care what you as a Celtic supporter think about my podcast? At the end of the day, mate, you're not listening to it with the best of intentions. So you're absolutely right. I don't care. I'm not going to respond to you. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. I'm not going to sit and get into arguments with you. And if you're annoyed by that, well, I'm afraid that's on you.
I'll be honest. I have had Celtic supporters that email me.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and I've had some that are I can't repeat on here. But I've also had some email me and say I really enjoy your show. I like the fact you're balanced. Blah blah blah. So I've had.
I know one. I know one. Yeah, a guy used to work with. He's in Australia now. Pete. Pete said, "Tell Martin I really enjoy the show," because he's a football fan.
That's what I was getting at. So you can have that back and forth debate, talk, chat. It's just very, very.
It's difficult on it's the individual in question as well. If somebody's emailing you abuse or whatever and he's looking for a response, then I'm not giving him a response. Screw it. It goes into the junk pile and never thought about it again. And I won't engage with that. If somebody's, email, and I've had people who, not even Celtic fans, believe it or not, but fans of other Scottish clubs, have emailed me and they said, look, I saw this thing and, I disagree and here's why. That's cool. And I'll go back and say, fair enough, right? I still think, X and Y. You can have that. You can't have it in social media because that has become a very, we all know what it's become. There's no point, complaining about it. It is what it is, so I tend to just, I use it for what I use it for. Use certain ones for certain things. Facebook I use to keep in touch with friends and family who are in the world, whatever. I don't really post about football on there, for example. Twitter is what it is, and that's people can get out of it what they want. Personally, I don't want to spend my nights arguing with strangers on the internet who have got morally offended that I think a certain player in the team we both support played well in a match we won. I am not going to spend my night with somebody who's, how can you say that, you bloody idiot? I'm just thinking, mate, if you're that angry in real life, then, have a smoke in a can and chill.
Yeah, see, I'm halfway there with you. I'm still young enough.
It took, well, in my case, it took, coming through alcoholism, too many strokes before I gained perspective. So, but nah, it's just, it's not what I'm into. Other people love it. That's the other thing, sometimes
People live for it. There's people that
love arguing, for arguing, and that's
Yeah.
cool. They should do that with other people who love arguing. I'm just not one of them.
No. Final question on all this, and then we will actually talk about Rangers. It's a worry that we're nearly half an hour in and we haven't yet, but I suppose that's kind of my fault. In terms of what we do, this whole talking about football online thing, do you think there's a responsibility on us to be careful in what we say? And I'll qualify that by saying, does that also depend on the size of your audience? Does the size of your audience make a difference in terms of stuff that you're coming out and saying? If you are intentionally trying to stir up trouble and get people motivated to, I don't know, for example, everybody get outside Ibrox and protest against the board, etc., blah, blah, blah. So see if you're having discussions with somebody on Heart and Hand about the current state of Rangers and somebody's really not happy, do you think there's a responsibility to choose your words carefully?
Yes and no. You have a responsibility, and I feel that I don't think you should be personally abusive about people, but that's just me. That's just how I would conduct myself. So, for instance, on my network, I would very much frown on that, people being abusive. And I've done it in the past before anyone says, well, I heard you 20 years ago say this about Martin Bain. You're right, I've done it. So I understand what people do when emotions rise. I just personally now, I would say, I'd prefer that not to happen. But for me, you have your responsibility is to be honest and do so in a way that, as I say, isn't personal and insulting. There is a difference between, for example, saying this player should not be playing, bang out of form, this player should be sold, or even a manager should be sacked, or even the board are doing a terrible job, and he's a C word, and he's a this and a that. So that's the only thing. But apart from that, it's be honest. Don't make up opinions. And people will always accuse you of that. But one of the things when people say, "Oh, you're only saying this because," and then they'll give you a reason. People have never had a conversation with you, but apparently know the motivation that goes on in your head. It's called projection, by the way, folks. If you know why I'm doing something and you've never spoken to me about it, it's because it's what you would do and you're projecting it onto me. But anyway, I tell the truth and I give an honest opinion for the simple reason is I would get caught. I'll forget what lie, because it would be a lie. I'll forget what lie I've told. So I'll give you an example. Recently, it happened to me a couple of weeks ago when John Gilligan said about Pyro. And I said, well, Pyro, if the club's saying it and it's costing us money, we need to wrap it. And somebody said, oh, that was very mealy-mouthed, David. You didn't come out and condemn it. And I said, well, hold on a minute here. The reason I didn't is I've shared images of Pyro in the past and went, this looked cool. I took photographs. I was in the crowd when we played Dundee and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So if I turn around now and go, Pyro is the worst thing in the world, I'm a lying bastard, right? That's hypocrisy off the scale. My opinion is, if it's costing the club money, we need to get rid of it. But I'm not going to suddenly turn around and say something completely different from something that happened a month ago. I do feel that they should stop Pyro at the games. And since actually saying that, I've met a lot of Rangers fans who've said to me, I don't like it. And my view then is, do you know what? If as many people don't like this, then I don't think that people who do have got a right to foist it on them at games, right? So I can still say I think Pyro looks cool and that it shouldn't be taken into the ground. But people that want me to lie and rant and rave and suddenly turn around from I can't share a picture of us at Dundee going, look at this, what an amazing away, and then go, this is disgusting and disgraceful and must be, that would be bullshit. And I just don't want to be that guy. And if I try being that guy and jumping between things I think people want to hear, one, people could tell, because people can smell inauthenticity from a mile away. And secondly, I would trip myself up.
Yeah, 100%. I trip myself up even when I'm telling the truth.
Well, see, I mean, sometimes your opinions change, like at the start of a season. Well, actually, not at the start of the season. After Leon, I thought, Barcelona, we can send him back tomorrow. He's done, right? I mean, who signed him? Now I'm sitting going, really impressed with this guy. But that's part of being a football fan. You're allowed to do it. You're allowed, your opinion is allowed to go up and down. You can think somebody's a great manager, and then 6 months later, you can say he should be out in his arse. It's part of being a football fan. You don't need to pick a decision and stick to it. If the evidence changes, it's fine for your opinion to change. And mine does. And I don't have any problem turning and saying I was wrong about that player, be it good or bad, that I said he was going to be a really good player for us and he wasn't. I don't mind admitting that because it's just a punter. Nobody died. Just, crack on.
Yeah, I was shouting about how good Proper was after Motherwell, and that included him scoring an own goal. And I said, yep, he's going to be the next big thing. And then after the Celtic game, I said, send Cherny back.
And see if in 6 months, and I sincerely hope it is, I'm with you right now, I think that Proper is fourth choice and should be fourth choice. If in 6 months he's turned it round, and I sincerely hope he does, I will say I got that wrong. I was totally wrong about that because,
well, if I'm negative, I want to be wrong.
Correct. That's something that people, I think, know if they listen to stuff like this. They know if we're criticising somebody, it's because we're hurting. A great example right now is James Tavernier. Right, and this will probably lead us into the game that weekend. Tav was awful, as bad as I've seen him play for Rangers, certainly since pre-Gerrard. I think he's lost a yard of pace, and I think he's lost the dynamism that was a huge part of his game. And I think he, as a professional footballer, is struggling with that because it must be incredibly tough for an athlete who's been doing stuff basically his whole life, and suddenly the body's not doing. I know this just for getting old. The body's not doing what you expect it to, and I think his confidence is away as well. And it left what we saw at the weekend, and I think that's totally fair to say. You will, of course, get people on social media like, wasn't he that a year ago, was it? And you're like, no, it wasn't that a year ago. No, when he was, playing better than he is now, right? I don't mind saying, this is how I feel today. This may change. So long
but it doesn't help him, though, David, that he's coming out before that game saying that I feel as if I played well.
And that to me is just, he's not the first sportsman, never mind footballer, but sportsman who's been fighting that. There'll be the wee voice in his head at 3 a.m. that's saying, you're getting to the end here. And as I say, it must be tough. If this is all you've done for your whole life, really, and it is for footballers, you've been doing this now for, since he was a wee boy. And it'll be hurting. And I don't think people, I saw, people saying, oh, he's lying there. I don't think he's lying. I think he's just in denial. Mm-hmm. Because if he genuinely does believe that, then he wouldn't be the first sportsman. But this is when a manager says, and it's happened to them all. It's happened to Steven Gerrard. It happened to Brian Robson. It happened to Terry Butcher at Rangers when the manager just went, nah, you've lost a yard, you're going. Now, you can do it in a nicer way than Souness done it, but he was right, and this is, God, how many times? Alex Ferguson, Paul Ince,
Gary Pallister, David Platt,
Stam, David Beckham,
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, once he decided that you were gone. Because, most sportsmen, some go, right, I'm done, but most tend to play on a wee bit longer than they should do. Tony Cruz going out at the very top. We all commented on it. Why? Because it's so rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% it is. take you back a wee bit further than the Motherwell game. The Aberdeen game.
Oh,
When that final whistle went, we're not going to honestly, we're not going to go into it, I promise. When that final whistle went, the following day, were you surprised that Clement was still on a job?
No, because you have to understand that I think that with Rangers as a club, they look for reasons to keep a manager as opposed to reasons to sack a manager. I think there is also an understanding from above that they have given him an all-time shit hand to play this season. They know what an absolute clusterfuck has been the behind the scenes at Rangers. So I think there's a bit of guilt there as well. Don't get me wrong. The reality is that there are only so many games you can lose as a Rangers manager. But you know, I would. To me, it kind of reminds me of the year after McLeish won the treble. We had a god awful season, and we did an interview with Alex McLeish on Heart and Hand, and he said, and fans were saying, I was one of them, you know, get rid of him, get rid of him. And he said, David Murray sat me down and said, I don't blame you for this. You know, we sold a load of your players. We brought in ones, weren't they up to speed? Have another summer. Let's see some improvement and, you know, go again. Now, a very valid argument is Alex McLeish had 5 trophies at that point. So he bought that credit. But I think there is that realisation from the fans. But, you know, we have to be realistic and say, if results continue the way they've been going, which is a good one, a couple of average ones, a poor one, then the fans will demand change, and that's when change happens at any football club. And I think that Philippe Clement is realistic enough to know that. I would hope he is. That you can't keep taking. I mean, Rangers are currently taking, on average, under 2 points a game. Ain't sustainable at a club like Rangers. So I think he will get more time than perhaps, you know, Beale got, for example. And I think that's fair because Beale spent a fortune in the summer and, you know, made such a howling arse of it, and the team was getting worse and worse and worse by the week. So I think there is the understanding that Clement is at the tough hand. But, you know, you're the Rangers manager. You have to deliver. And we all know, by the way, that it's hard and all the circumstances and finances. We all know that. It doesn't change the reality of the situation, you know. You can talk about what should be, but this is what is.
And yeah, and it's difficult to have the same discussions and the same arguments every week. So we beat Motherwell. We get to the final of the League Cup. Fans aren't happy because of the first half. So the fact that we've won the game, and I will quickly delve into that in a wee second, right? But the fact that we won the game, not good enough. You then move it forward, and we play Olympiacos tomorrow. If we get a draw, which I think would be a fantastic result personally, right? If we get a draw out there, great result for us in Europe. If we get beat, if we win, I don't really know that it changes the narrative around the manager. And then we go to Hearts on Sunday, and if we win, I still don't think it changes the narrative. And then you move into December. Now, December, we have Celtic, we have Aberdeen, and then, of course, you have the New Year fixture against Celtic. Any realistic Rangers fans sitting here right now, if you say to them, if we play Celtic tomorrow, who wins? 99.9% of us, I would imagine, would put our hands up and go, the way things look, probably Celtic. So I don't see an avenue, David, moving forward where the manager makes it through this.
That's, you know, a legit shout. I would agree with you, by the way, that, you know, if he wins tomorrow, for example, and then loses on Sunday, then, you know, so he's not going to get credit for a victory tomorrow, or not immediately afterwards. If he wins the next 2 games, quieting down some of it, but it's not going to change anybody's doubts. But they're the games you just mentioned that he can change it. And all you can ask for in any job is an opportunity. and he has those opportunities. He has huge games coming up, home games as well, okay, albeit Hampden, against, and I don't care, Rangers should be giving any team, I do mean any team, a game at home.
Yes.
We might lose, if we were playing, X or Y in the Europa League or whatever, we might lose, but we should be getting them a game. And therefore, again, it comes down to how are you looking at this within the club? I would hope that they're looking at it. It doesn't matter how the fans are looking at it, really. I would hope that within the club, they're looking at these games going, what an opportunity. We can flip this all on its head if we go into these games. Now, there'll be listeners and viewers saying, come on, David, we've seen that before and they haven't, and you are quite right. And the consequences of losing those matches will be as expected, what we've seen in the past. But I would be, if it was me, I'd be going, I can't wait here. I've had criticism since I came in here. Imagine you're the guy that scores a win in the League Cup final for Rangers, right? Your Ibrox career is golden for a while. That's a fact.
My daughter's name's getting changed to whoever it is.
There you go. I'm getting a tattoo there of whoever it is, and and that's the League Cup.
So,
it's exactly, it's the League Cup. It's not anything that we haven't seen before, but that is the attitude that you want to have. And what I will say is a positive for the weekend, and there were negatives, of course there were. You're not going to get out of this quickly, right? Because you didn't get into that. The fans didn't get into this mood overnight. They didn't wake up after one game and we all went, right, we're all going to feel like this. This has been years, right? Not simply this manager or this squad. This has been years. And therefore, you've got to be realistic. I said that at the weekend. Rangers are in a position right now. Motherwell game's a good case in point. You don't get credit for a win, but you would get blamed for a defeat. And it's going to be like that for a while because I'm afraid that the results that they have got this season have placed them in that position. Okay, so we can again debate whether it's right or not, but what we can't debate is that it's true. That's the reality of the situation that the club currently finds themselves in. A large part, in fact, a total part, due to people, at the club, due to the board, due to the players, whatever. But you have an opportunity to turn all that around with big victories and go on and possibly do something if you win these matches. And if you can't win those matches and you can't compete in those matches, and that's one thing, we didn't compete in matches with Celtic recently, then you will go. Rangers managers that can't beat Celtic do not last. Celtic managers that can't beat Rangers do not last. Traditionally, this is not new. This is well over a century that this has been the case. So I just think you've got to be realistic as to what the job is. And again, let's not forget, and I'll say sometimes things like, I feel for them on a human level, they're very, very well paid to do a dream job. So, let's just remember that with the size of the violin. That doesn't mean I'm saying it's okay to abuse them or anything like that. I'm not. I'm just saying that, it's a high-pressure environment, but they've done something amazing. They've got a chance to run it in front of 50,000 people. And if they score a goal, playing football, which is fucking fantastic anyway, when you're just doing it with your mates, right? If they score a goal, there'll be songs sung about them for years. What an opportunity. And they should be grateful for that opportunity and bursting a gut to do it. And I think the thing about what we saw at the weekend, long way for a shortcut, is in the second half, I saw Raskin and I saw Barron and I saw Cherny and I saw Bayrami wanting responsibility. And Stefan when he came on. I saw Casemiro when he came on. I saw guys that were wanting responsibility. Danilo, I'll make something happen. Cherny was the best of it, right? He wasn't flawless anywhere near it in his game, but what he kept doing, and the crowd were antsy, with a goal into Motherwell in a semi-final, all the attendant pressure, that's all there, and he kept showing for the ball and saying, give me the ball, I'll make something happen, right? I love that. Barron, I'll burst forward, I'll keep winning the ball back, I'll make something happen. All of these guys, that's the attitude that's got to spread throughout the club. And if there's other players who don't share that attitude because of scar tissue, previous defeats, bad form, take them out and focus on the ones that do, because they're the guys that will get you where you need to go.
Yeah, and come back to that Motherwell game, and I made this point. I think I made it on the reaction or the show after I worked out that I'd done something like 76 podcasts in October, so it's hard to keep track. I just where you are. But in that Motherwell game, there was a lot of people not happy about the first half, and I get that. But throughout that game, both first half and second half, people complain about the style of play Rangers have and the way Clement sets up his team. I watched it back, and I think there must have been at least, by playing decent football, 5 or 6 gilt-edged chances that we should have taken. Now, you can then point and go, well, he's picking Dessers up front.
That's that is part of the problem. If Rangers take 3 of those chances and do it regularly, then we're not having this conversation. But that's what I mean. You can't change. But you can't change how people feel, right? This is that there's a big difference between what we think, which is logically, and how we feel, right? And you can't control feelings. You can control to a degree your logic. You can sit down and you can say, do you know what? I've watched that game back. It was semi-final. Motherwell actually played quite well. And all of that's true, but he still feel antsy and down, and you give that. Nobody can tell you that's not right. If, for example, we'd been winning regularly loads of trophies and stuff, and people were feeling like that, I would say, come on, give yourself a shake. But those feelings are perfectly legitimate. It's not up to the fans to change that. It's up to the players and the management and the staff and the board to change how we feel. Right, not try to argue us into by saying, well, what? But that's all bollocks. There's only one way you do this, and it's by winning football matches, and then it's by winning football matches well and playing good stuff. And the problem we've had is every time we've seen some good signs, we've stepped forward a couple of paces, and then we've been knocked back down again. So it's hard to keep, when you're walking up the staircase, to keep getting battered down, to keep picking yourself and to keep going. And the fans have been doing that for a number of years now. It's now up to the players to give us a little bit of something. And I know I bang on about this, but it's absolutely true. There's only so much that the crowd can do. Crowd play their part. They buy tickets, they turn up, they sing, they buy merch, they play a new strip that came out the day that was selling like hotcakes. All of those things. Now it's time for players to reward that by putting in good performances that they are capable of. And again, we're not asking for miracles here. We are a club where the players are paid considerably more than 10 of the 11 clubs that they come up against. That should mean as a basic that we expect them to beat those other 10 sides comfortably. Yes. That's not an unrealistic expectation.
Yes, 100%. What do you think of the new top?
Oh, it's really nice. Yeah. It's another one where Custo, this is, I think, the third time they've produced a strip that's better than,
the home strip. Yeah, 100%. I wish you didn't have the sponsor on the side of it, though. But
that is an odd one. I assume, I don't know, I'll ask, but I assume that's maybe part of the deal with.
That will be.
Yeah, Kindred Grit, that it's part of it. They used to release a certain amount of sponsorless tops. And while I can understand why they want, these advertising firms want the players wearing that TV exposure or that, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to buy a product based on I've seen a guy walking down the street. Like, I'm not going to visit Rwanda because I've seen a guy wearing an Arsenal top and he's got it on his sleeve. So that, might be a wee bit.
And also, every single Rangers fan has now heard of Boxed. We all know what Boxed is. So we don't need it on the retro, which is actually, by the way, sitting behind me. Very, very nice. I like it very, very much.
Yeah, it's a really nice, simple design. That's what a Rangers home kit should be. There's no need to fuck about with it. That is absolutely perfect. And of course, we look forward to the game that we wear it in, and we're all sure
we don't.
The strip curse comes.
No, we don't. I'm going to throw you what's known in the industry as a softball. One that I thought you can just bat it away. Andy Halliday scores against Rangers, David. Right, you know where I'm going with this. You could probably
and becomes the first player in football history to not celebrate against his former club. I have never seen this before. This was totally new. This was something that we have never ever seen. We'll go right back to the start of the show. It's that sort of bollocks, that made up, confected bullshit. That's the kind of stuff that gets right on my nips. And Andy Halliday burst a gut to get on there. It was a brilliant bit of play by him. He sees it developing, takes the chance, makes a run, something, by the way, some of our midfielders should do more often, gets on the end of it, still is a difficult finish, and finishes it. What he then does or doesn't do is absolutely irrelevant. He did his job for Motherwell. And that is, and people that are surprised when you see this every week, you watch Match of the Day, you will see this at least once an episode on Match of the Day. It happens every week, all over the world, every league, right? Personally, I wouldn't be offended if he'd turned around and celebrated with his fans. But Andy has, we all know this. Andy has family members in the away end of Hampton, right? So, off the way end to Motherwell. So he maybe just wanted to show he's not just an ex-Rangers player, he's a Rangers supporter. Everybody knows that. So it's absolute nonsense. We've seen it for, decades. Decades this has been going on. Years. Dennis Law did it in the 70s, right? And the idea that it's somehow, plus the fact Andy Halliday once gets sent off for celebrating a goal, so he's maybe had that in the back of his head.
Well, that was also in the back of his head, yes. Yeah. And my younger brother, if he goes back to Dundee United in January and somehow manages to get himself in that team, I know for a fact if he scored against Rangers, he would celebrate. Not because it's against Rangers, but because he's scored a goal in the top league, and it would be emotional for him. But that does just if you celebrate, don't celebrate. It doesn't change the way you feel about it.
You don't need to do an Adebayor, right? Where you're 8 yards up to the fans of the old club and give them a get it right up you. You don't need to do that. The only one that ever annoyed me was Kenny Miller, and I think I don't need any further explanation on that. I think people will understand why that is.
Hall of Fame, yes or no? Don't just leave it there. Leave it there. Don't answer that question. Don't answer that question.
I'm very much in the he played for them camp, but I know that a lot of people feel differently, and that's perfectly valid. But nah.
Listen, it makes for a good 6-parter show if you've got nothing to put on.
Kenny Miller earned his wage for Rangers the entire time he was there. He was a fabulous professional and an excellent player for Rangers. And this is my hang-up, and I will own it. I'm not as bad as some of my pals that I know that are currently sitting at Hampden waiting for extra time in the League Cup final of 2010, because as far as they're concerned, it's 0-0. I'm not as bad as those guys, but yeah.
Oh, no, I agree with him. I'm with him. Right, tomorrow night, what's your thoughts, actually, on Europe as a whole this season, obviously with the way the league's going, with the way the team's performing, with the issues we seem to have at board level. I say at board level, with the two people we have sitting on the board, with no director of football, with all that noise in the background, we haven't really been that successful in terms of winning trophies. What's your thoughts about Europe this season? Are you one of these who are, I don't care, I want us to win every game, I'm right into Europe, I get up for every single game? Or are you more, if we win, I'm happy, but my main focus is domestic?
Right now, my main focus is domestic. It can change from time to time. The money's handy, obviously, so Rangers need to pick up a result in that match.
I do that all the time.
Rangers need to pick up money if we can, right? You know, there's money you can make in Europe you cannot make in the domestic game. So there's that. But honestly, you know, and this might be wrong, and again, if you disagree with me, I'm totally cool with that. The biggest game of the next two that we have coming up is Hearts.
Yes.
And that's, to me, that's just the case. You know, if we lost narrowly against Olympiacos playing quite well and beat Hearts, I would be okay. If we beat Olympiacos and lost narrowly against Hearts playing well, I would be very upset. So I can only go in again how I feel as opposed to the logical thing on it.
And it's not going to be easy, as Stuart said to me when I says, are you looking forward to Olympiacos? He says, yeah, I don't like travelling to France. and I had
had
to let him know that it wasn't quite in France.
If he's in Lyon, it's a lovely place, but he might not see Rangers play there tomorrow night.
They seem to have the kind of similar record to us in Europe. They beat Malmo away from home.
Yeah, they're a right good side. I watched their European run last year, saw quite a few of the games against Villa, for example, and the quarters. I saw them in the final. We saw them, of course, at Ibrox at the start of last season. They're a good team. They're well coached. He knows what he's doing, and it'll be very, very tough. Equally, Rangers have put in performances in Europe from nowhere where you go, where the hell did that come from? So I would never discount us. It's
do you get that same feeling for this Rangers team, though, that we can go on and do that?
To be honest, they've already surprised me with the performances against Malmo and FCSB because they were of such significantly higher quality than anything else we've seen. What will be difficult tomorrow night is the atmosphere is nuts, right? Everyone knows that about Greece. So the players need to be aware of that. They need to handle that. We are in a position, where it's every game is must win for Rangers, the caveat, right? But in terms of getting qualified, and finishing in the playoff spot, it's not a must win, which it would have been if we were sitting on 1 point right now.
Yeah.
Then but we're sitting on 6. If we pick up a point, 3 would be magic. 3, I think, and we're pretty much through, believe it or not. But if we pick up a point, we're in a bloody good spot. If we don't, we're still in a decent spot.
Tricky games though. After this, I mean, I can't remember everybody because there's bloody 7 fixtures or 8 fixtures now.
Well,
but Tottenham, Manchester United, Nice.
Quality sides, and that's the thing. And then we have a run of games that you look at, USG and stuff, and you think, well, they're the ones we could definitely pick points up in. But I'd absolutely love to go there tomorrow night, pick up a victory. 9 points will probably do you. And then you can go into, I'd love us to go into the Tottenham game, go on free hit, lads, away and enjoy that and give them in Laude, and see what you get. With the understanding that, their squad being what it is likely to beat as Man United,
I fear Tottenham more than I do Man U.
Current Man U, this boy that's coming in knows what he's doing. So, but again, if you avoid utter capitulation a la Liverpool. If you go out there and you give it, Rangers fans are realistic enough to know that a team that was assembled for, 40 million up against a team that cost just under $1 billion to assemble, then they probably are going to win. But if you're in a position where you're sitting with your 9 points, bring it on. That would be great. I'd love that. And imagine we went into that game. We win tomorrow night and we have the opportunity and could pick up something in Nice, I don't know. But we go into the game against Tottenham with a cup final coming up and we go in there real high. It's a massive game for the players, for the fans. There is a positive that can come from this. But again, sorry to bore you, it's down to the players.
Yeah, I was like, he's verging on happy clapping here.
Exactly. That's just, I'm just a scenario. Right.
The other scenario. Right now,
the other scenario that could go totally the other way. But yeah, I mean, for me, they have to win on Sunday, right? Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts. If they don't, the reaction will be seismic. Tomorrow night, I want to see a good performance. I want to see a committed performance, and they've shown in the past that we're capable of picking up results in these places. Even this season, even going to Malmo and getting that victory against a Malmo team that really thought they were going to do us, by the way. Yes. So, yeah, I go out there tomorrow night and get stuck in. But then remember Sunday dinner. That's the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, Sunday's all important. Absolutely all important. David, thank you very much.
A pleasure as always, my man. Lovely to talk to you.
I made sure to keep it to the hour this time.
Oh, I'm impressed. That's because I watched the
I'll just say a massive thank you to everybody who's tuned in. Please like, share, and subscribe. I have linked the Heart and Hand YouTube channel into the description as well. So So go over and check that out. Because you get, is it 2 free videos a week on the YouTube channel, David?
Yeah. Oh, you get 2 free podcasts, and you also get a
reaction.
Couple of videos as well. And can I just a little shout out to those of you who are overseas and in and around the Dubai area. The Dubai Loyal are having a big celebration anniversary in 2 weeks this weekend. I'm going to be out there hosting it. Mark Haley, Kevin Thompson, and Jig. Lee McCulloch will be the guest. We're going to be doing live shows and loads of other stuff.
Do you get any spare tickets?
No. No, right. I said that to the boys. I said, look, they asked if someone from Heart and Hand could go over, and the boys all went, oh, I could have it, lads. Don't even fuck.
Yes.
I'm going. Right? Come on. Use your noggin. But I'm really excited. Look forward to the great, lovely, really nice people. And I mean, those 3 players, they've won everything. The stories are amazing. We've done live shows with Kev and Martin Jig before. They're really funny. But as well as their own stories about when they were at the club, they've got great insight into where we are right now. So
yes.
Always up here. So if you're an expat, you're in Dubai, or you're going to be there, going out for some summer sun, that's the thing. Everybody's going, oh, great, David, some summer sun. I'm like, look, I can't go out in that sun. I look enough like a shriveled testicle as it is. If I'm 5 minutes out in that, and I'll just, be absolutely baked.
It could be worse. You could have been in nappies until you were 7.
That's true.
There you go. So I would take that shriveled testicle look every day of the week out in Dubai. Let me tell you. If you're looking for a co-host at any point, David, just give me a shout.
I will say
as long as you pay for the hotels and flights and all that, I will join you.
That's maybe where the plan hits a flaw.
Well, we shall see. I've got your phone number, so we shall. Listen, thank you, David. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. We're back tomorrow at 12:30. So until then, see you later.